Hey guys, it's Kaylee. I am back with another What Sold From Last Week video. In today's video, I'll be going over my sales that are happening on eBay, Poshmark, and I just added Depop to my spreadsheet. So I'll do a quick overview of my numbers. These are just something that I like to look at to analyze how my business is doing on each platform and combined, and I share it with you. Plus, I'll dive into some individual sales, talk about how long they took to sell, how much they sold for, and why I picked them up in the first place. The items that I pulled are highlights from a sales week, but just know that a bulk of my sales is bread and butter, $20 to $35. And then we have the ones that I'm showing you today that sold for a little bit more. Let's dive in. All right, so I switched up my spreadsheet a little bit, not too much, but I wanted to include Depop and just make this cleaner and easier for me to pull and also for you guys to look at. So it may look a little bit different, but the same information is still there with the addition of another platform. So the sales that I'm looking at happen between November 16th through the 22nd, so the week right before Thanksgiving week. And usually the week prior to a holiday ends up being good, but the holiday week itself does not end up being good. So we'll see how my sales look next week since we're living in Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, to everybody. I think this video is probably going to go out after Thanksgiving, maybe before. I'll try to make sure it's before, but happy Thanksgiving. In total, I sold 128 items between those three platforms. I also sold many items and had many sales on Whatnot as well, but I don't feel like they belong on a buy it now what sold video because it just doesn't translate. They're completely different business models, so I only included Depop. I sold 61 items on eBay, 56 on Poshmark, and 11 on Depop. You can see the split between all of them here. My gross sales with everything included was a little over $5,100. And then my average item sale price, which does not include what I receive for shipping, ended up being about $35 just over. So I am exactly where I want to be. My goal is to have an average item sale price between $35 and $4, and we are back to that. I sold an ASP of around $44 on eBay. So eBay really drove up that average sale price. It had a lot of larger, higher dollar sales over there, just more substantial pieces. On Poshmark, my ASP was pretty decent. It was around $30, which is high for me for Poshmark. Also a great week on Poshmark. And then, as I said, I recently started being more consistent on Depop. Recently, meaning it's been about a couple of months now. Just kidding. I just had to correct that. I found a mistake. That was from my net earnings. My gross, which is what I should be doing, average item sale price was actually a little over $37. That sounds better because I did have a lot of larger sales on Depop. Let's dive into some of these individual sales. All right, probably one of my favorite sales was this sale on eBay. It is by the brand Abercrombie and Fitch. I love all things Y2K, whether it's true Y2K or whether it just looks like the Y2K aesthetic. Either way, it is one of my most solid categories, and I love style-based sourcing because you can find brands that most people skip right over and make really, really good profits off of it if you know exactly what to look for. I knew to look for these Y2K jackets, and this one had some extra stuff going for it. The biggest one being that it had a fur trim hood, which is trending right now. And I listed this for $150. I could have listed this much higher, let's say $200 or best offer, but I probably would have been sitting a little bit longer on this item. And my goal is to move items extremely quickly. So I try to price competitively. So this is a competitive price that you are seeing. I paid $8.99 for this. I listed it on November 16th. It sold on November 22nd. So just 6 days to sell for my full asking price of $150. And again, I originally paid $8.99 at a thrift store. Next up, these are definitely ones that I paid up for. A lot of my larger price sales I do pay up for, but again, as I stated in the beginning of this video, most of the items that we get and that we sell are more bread and butter. Anywhere from $20 to about $35 is what I consider to be relatively bread and butter pieces, and most of those items we're picking up from the bins where my average cost of good is $1.50. And then I mix in pieces like this. I actually got these through wholesale. One of my wholesalers is phenomenal with really high sell-through rate, but also sometimes luxury pieces. And so this came from that wholesaler. I mentioned those Manolo Blahniks, the last what sold. This came from that same person. And these are a pair of Louis Vuittons, which always make me nervous to sell, but they were real and they had like all of the stuff that you need. And I think the original box with these ones as well. I actually paid $50 for these and I made sure to, again, price very competitively to make sure that they moved. I listed these for $200 or best offer, and I very quickly sold them on an offer to watcher for around $170. So 50 into 170, but they sold very, very quickly. These only took about eight, no, 9 days to sell. I couldn't do math. These took 9 days to sell. Very, very quick for a luxury flip, and pricing is so important if you want to move things quickly. All right, next up, another item I paid up for. You guys probably saw this in my shorts. I came across a rack of nothing but Lilly Pulitzer the other day. Most of it was modern. There were some vintage pieces and there were some 1960s ones, which I ended up only getting 2 pieces out of the many that I saw off of that rack as far as dresses go. And this was one of them. The other one also sold, by the way. So very quick flips, but again, I had to price extremely competitively to get those to move. You might have done it otherwise, but that is my business model. So this is the Lily. This is a 1960s label. It was a size 14 and it was a really pretty pink longer length dress. I listed this one at 150 or best offer. After the Hawaiian looking one sold, we actually had a buyer reach out to us and ask if they could purchase that one. And we said, no, sorry, it sold. So they asked if we had any more like it. And we let them know that we actually had one more, but it was a little bit different, but around the same size. And we ended up setting this live. I had it in scheduled. It wasn't going to go live for a few days, but we went ahead and set it live for this particular buyer who was interested, and they bought it very shortly after that. So super quick flip on this one. I paid $20 for this, again, listed at 150 or best offer. They went ahead and purchased and it sold for my full asking price of $150. Again, the exact same day after pulling it out of my scheduled and getting that listed. Next up, this would be another familiar one for you. This is a designer brand, pretty rare to come across. There's not a whole lot available, is Alana Cone. This was a more rare piece, which is why I purchased it because sell-through rate wasn't super great, but I thought this piece was good enough. So this one was a multicolor, somewhat patchwork looking plaid, and it was a size extra large. It was oversized, had tons of stuff going for it. I used the keywords indie and maximalist with this one, as well as oversized to really elevate that value and get it to the right buyer. I paid $5.99 for this and I listed this for $125 or best offer. It sold for my full asking price, and this one actually sold the exact same day that I listed it. Next up, this is another one from one of my wholesalers. Again, the same one that brings me some really high sell-through rate pieces. This is a new brand to me called Kettle Mountain Apparel. Excellent brand. First time ever seeing it. This is actually one of their, I would say, lower end items. They make some other jackets and things that sell for much, much more, but I was super happy to get this rain jacket. This one was really lightweight. I paid $15 for it and listed it for $65. It sold on an offer to watcher very quickly for around $55, and this one only took 10 days to sell. Next up, another one I came across recently. This is the brand Bed Stew. This brand makes distressed leather looking things. They make shoes, they make handbags, they make belts, all kinds of stuff. I've sold many of their pieces before. So I was really excited when I came across this crossbody. I think sometimes sellers come across stuff like this and they think it's just so worn that it won't sell, so they leave it. But there are many brands who thrive in that distress look, and this is definitely one of them. So this was called the Ventura Mini Crossbody Bag. I did a little bit more digging on this one just because the thrift store had it priced for $9.99 and it was a smaller item. So I wanted to really make sure to do my comps to make sure it would sell quickly if I paid up for it. And it did have really great comps for this Ventura Mini Crossbody Bag. I paid $10 for it, listed it for $45. It sold for my full asking price of $45, and this one only took 8 days to sell. Next up, I paid $12.99 for this dress. A lot of these that you guys are seeing I actually paid up for. Lots of full higher end sales coming out this week on eBay. But again, normally we're picking stuff up from the bins. This is Eddie Bauer. I only listed this for $50. The reason I paid $13 to move into $50, which is tighter margins, is because I've just got so much history selling items like this. I knew it would flip. This is a vintage Eddie Bauer corduroy long length dress. Anything corduroy, vintage labels tend to perform pretty well for me, especially in the outdoorsy brands like Eddie Bauer or LL Bean. So I knew it'd be a quick flip. This one was also full button down the front, which also increases value. I used keywords like button front, maxi, corduroy, shirt dress, and country. So again, listed for $50. This sold on an offer to watcher for around $42, and this one took a couple of months to sell. Next up, a core category that I'm looking in are these like barn chore style coats in just about any brand, both men's and women's. This is just the brand Lands End, but again, the style is there for this item. So this is a women's vintage chore coat, and this one was also lined with a corduroy collar. So for all of those reasons, I bumped up the price. I paid $7.99 for this and listed it for $45. It sold on an offer to watcher for $38. And this one actually sold the exact same day that we got it listed. Next up, another recent pickup. This is Maeve by Anthropologie. Not typically a high-performing brand, and honestly, Anthropologie in lots of things, unless it's substantial, is probably going to sit for you unless you keyword it up and can sell it as a style-based piece. I look for longer length dresses, coats, more substantial pants, things like that. This was a longer length dress. It was linen. It had the baby doll silhouette. It was plaid, pink, all trending features. And even though it was linen and we are in colder weather, I still decided to get it because it was so on trend and it was longer length. I listed this for $40. I paid $6.99. It sold for my full asking price of $40, and this one only took 7 days to sell. Here is not a brand I normally get. It is called Jerry. We picked this up from the bins because it was a factor stacking piece, meaning although it wasn't a great brand sell-through rate wise, there were multiple factors stacked on top of each other that might have meant it was a good piece. And after doing comp research, we saw that it was. So this is Jerry. It is a rail down puffer coat. It is in a men's size extra large. It's got color block details and was in pretty good condition. We listed this for $40 and it sold for our full asking price of $40. This one did take a couple of months to sell. Another category that I'm looking for are longer length dressier coats. This one is by the brand Calvin Klein. This one's a women's. I use keywords like old money, pea coat, formal, and professional. I listed this for $45. We got this from the bins and it sold on an offer to watcher for $38 in just 8 days, selling a lot of coats like this. Next up, a brand you should be familiar with because I've been selling a lot of this, and I also recently did a merino wool base layer video where we deep dived into some of those wool base layer brands. Pretty much any wool base layer brand you want to keep your eye out for. This one is Icebreaker, and this is a women's zip wool pullover. I listed this one for $35. I paid $7 in wholesale and it sold for my full asking price of $35. This one took 12 days to sell. Next up, another wholesale piece. I got this for $7. This is an REI co-op collaboration. Any kind of collaboration I see between two different brands or a brand with an artist or designer, always look it up. This one is REI with Outdoor Afro. I'm not super familiar with that, but it is a women's pair of pants. Very core, very streetwear looking. We listed these for $35 and they sold for a full asking price of $35. These actually only took 1 day to sell. Next up, I like looking for this brand in men's specifically. It is Vince. This brand retails for a lot, but in the women's department for me does not perform well in most things, but the men's is a different story. This is a Vince men's wool cashmere blend sweater in a size extra large. I listed this for $35 and it sold for my full asking price. We picked this up at the bins and it sold within just 4 days of being listed. Okay, next up, this is an Eileen Fisher item, and it might look familiar because I actually just sold one, I think it was last week, that looked almost identical to this, but in black. And so I recognized it immediately when I was doing the draft for this. I was like, oh, I should go back to that sold, pull the same title, switch up whatever I need to. And that's exactly what I did. And it sold. So there's definitely something to be said when you're doing comps on your item or you've recently sold an item very similar to it to really pull the keywords that are actually in the sold. So what keywords are increasing value for the item? The keywords have to be true for the item, but there are keywords that are true for an item, like so many things. There's probably 50 keywords for one item, but which ones actually get it to the right buyer and cause the item to sell and elevate the value? That's what my goal is to teach all of my members in Resellers Edge. And so these keywords definitely work for this type of item. I use keywords oversize, organic, linen top. I could have said poncho, so that's something to keep in mind too, but I didn't. Coastal and sustainable. We listed this one for $40 and it sold on an offer to watcher for around $34. This one took 1 day to sell and we picked this up from the bins. Next up, this is a men's piece. I love finding LL Bean men's pieces, especially in good fabrics. This is merino lamb's wool. This is called the Commando sweater. We picked this up for $7 in wholesale and listed for $32. It sold for our full asking price of $32, and this one only took 7 days to sell. Pretty much any men's LL Bean sweater, especially if it's thicker like this, it's going to flip quickly. All right, I included just a few style-based pieces for you today. This is New York and Company, not a brand you want to go out and seek after, but this silhouette is one you want to look for in just about any brand. So this is a true vintage Y2K satin baby doll top. I listed this one for $35 and it sold for my full asking price of $35. This one only took a couple of weeks to sell and I paid under $4 for this piece. This was also a super quick flip. This is just Zara. I don't get this brand a whole lot, but this had a lot of trending factors. It just looked like a piece that somebody would wear to a holiday party. Plus it was brown, which is a very trending color in this type of piece. I actually paid $8.99 for this and was hoping to flip it into $35. Again, a quick flip for paying up for items. This ended up selling on an offer to watcher for around $30 and it only took a week to sell. Next up, another style-based piece. This is Valerie Stevens. Again, not a brand you want to look for, but great factors on this one as well. It's got a baby doll style. It is sheer. It's got very muted, romantic, floral details to it. So I added a lot of keywords for that, such as fairy, feminine, and flowy, and Y2K. Listed this for $30. This sold for my full asking price of $30 and we got this from the bins. These things are so lightweight. They probably cost like 50 cents. They're so lightweight. And I love them because I can flip them very quickly. Everybody leaves them behind. This one took a month to sell. Next up, we have another style-based piece. This one is completely unbranded. This is one of our test items, which means we don't have a lot of experience selling stuff like this, so we're testing it out, and we normally only get test items from the bins where it's cheap. So this is completely unbranded. It is a brown velvet blazer. I've been selling a lot of velvet blazers, especially when they lean more like whimsy goth, fairy grunge style, which this one definitely did. We listed this one around $25. It sold for our full asking price, and this only took 5 days to sell. So that was definitely a test that was passed, and we'll continue picking stuff up like this in the future. All All right, another style-based piece. This is No Boundaries. It is a true Y2K item. It's baby doll style, very feminine details. I used keywords like Y2K and baby doll, dainty, and floral in it. I listed this one for $30. It sold on an offer to watcher for $25. And this one sold within just 12 days of being listed. Here is a modern Y2K style item. So modern label, but Y2K style. So we still include Y2K in our title, just not vintage. This is modern Hollister, and it is a very milkmaid style top. Great factors on this one. So I've been experimenting with picking up modern like mall brand tops that have good enough factors and pricing them for 25, and they are moving for me. So I'm going to continue to do that because again, it's something that everyone else is passing on that we can easily find, bulk up our sales and our numbers at the bins. So I listed this one for $25. I used the keywords Y2K, milkmaid, coquette, baby doll, smocked, and cottage core. This sold for my full asking price of $25, and this one took about a month and a half to sell. Here is another piece. This is Chico's. If you guys watch the deep dive, I did have Chico's. I pick up like hardly any Chico's, like hardly ever, never ever. But occasionally I will get Chico's if it is a good style-based piece, not for the brand. So Chico's comes up with quite a few velvet burnout items, and those are items I like finding because they lean into holiday and whimsy goth, and just velvet burnout is very trendy right now. I paid $5 for this, listed this Chico's Velvet Burnout top for $25. It sold on an offer to watcher for a little over $21, and this one took about 2 months to sell. All right, there's a few items that I included that took longer to sell than I would have liked, and they're reworked items, meaning they didn't sell within 90 days, which is our goal. And so then we're reworking items if we still think they're worth selling, and we're refreshing those. And sometimes when I refresh an item, I end and sell similar, we'll change up the cover photo. And sometimes I think things need put on an actual person so that the buyer can envision themselves in it. So I've been doing that, not with everything I've been reworking, certainly not everything because it takes forever, but with a few pieces that I think it'll really increase value. And I do plan on making a video about that soon because you guys have asked for it. So I've included a few AI modeled images, which I make using ChatGPT. So this is a Doncaster, not a brand you want to know, silk top. This was our cover photo. It is not at all a bad cover photo. It's on a mannequin. I think it looks great. The problem is this is more like spring resort wear. And so I thought it was going to take a while to move it. I went ahead and put this on an AI model and freshened up the title using words like tropical, floral, silk, halter. We could have, and we probably did in the description, put like resort and travel and things like that. I listed this for $30, and after getting it reworked, it did sell very quickly for my full asking price of $30 plus shipping. Okay, moving into some of the Poshmark sales, and then we'll finish up with a few Depop sales. I did sell quite a bit on Poshmark last week, and a lot of them were full price sales, so I wanted to share those with you. This first one is a category I love sourcing. It can be style-based, but also can be comped, which are men's cardigans. This one is a vintage Murano men's cardigan with some interesting pattern details. I usually list these for around 35 to 40, which is what I did with this one. I used some keywords like preppy, academia, and teacher. And in the description, we use like grandpa core, layers, cool weather, and fall. And someone sent an offer for $29, which we accepted. Next up is a brand that performs very well even in winter right now in dresses, which is Lulu Bee. This brand is known for their UPF clothing, so it's very scuba feeling, very swimwear feeling. It's definitely more of a summery brand, as you can tell from the print, but if you can find it in longer length dresses, they're still performing pretty well. So I had this maxi dress in a size large. I originally listed this for $50 or $55 on Poshmark, and I very quickly accepted an offer for $40. This one flew off the shelf. So great piece, and definitely a brand with the right factor stacking. you can get a higher ASP for. Here is another merino wool base layer brand. This is the brand Woolly, and their Woolly Mammoth is their logo. And this is an ombre merino wool base layer hoodie, so a little bit increased value there. I listed this for $35. I have I have my cross listing tool, which is nifty, automatically send out offers, and that's where a lot of these are being captured. It's really good to send out offers pretty much immediately after a buyer likes an item, and that's why I personally choose to use a listing AI tool that can like capture those moments. So I have it set, it's like within 1 to 5 minutes after somebody likes an item to send out offers to watchers. And that's how I capture a lot of these sales. If you're someone doing it manually, totally fine. But if you can get to it closer to when they actually like the item, you'll reduce them losing interest or finding another piece. So that's where a lot of these are coming from. So this one sold on an automatic offer sent to them for $29. Here is a piece, one of my plus size bread and butters. It is Belle by Kim Gravel. I like finding this brand and trying to up the value to 25, but it's got to be a substantial piece. This one is longer length. It's got a nice print to it. And this is a 3X, which is one of my favorite factors in plus sizes, is that particular size does really, really well for me. So this sold for 25. Here's another modern Hollister top, but similar silhouette to that one you saw before. And I used about the same keywords, Y2K, milkmaid, baby doll. I included fairy and coquette with this one, and it sold on the automatic offer for $25. These are things, once you get them figured out and you test them out in your store and they're performing really well, that in my opinion, you no longer need to comp. Like I've sold multiples of these within just 1 week. So now when I come across them at the bins, we'll be picking them up and just listing them for $25 to $30 and just using the same keywords and recycling those over and over. And that's how you can really churn through sales in your store, pad your sales, and you still want to be looking for the higher ASP and higher sell-through rate things. But when you don't find them, which we all have those days, you can still be bulking up at the places you're already at with style-based and factor stacking. And that's completely transformed my business for the better. Okay, next up, this is a factor stacking piece. This is an Eddie Bauer pair of women's hiking pants. I normally wouldn't get these, but these were fleece lined, so that helped to increase the value. And when we looked them up, had some pretty good sell-through rates. These sold for $30, and we included keywords like fleece-lined, hiking, trails, and outdoors. This was another item that I have been sitting on for a while and spiced up with an AI modeled image using ChatGPT. And it actually sold for our full asking price after that for $35. It is an ECI beautiful multicolored velvet dress with bell sleeves. It was very like witchy, which is what we originally marketed towards. And we've since switched up the keyword since Halloween has passed into whimsical, velvet burnout, artsy, dark romantic, and it sold better with those words. Next up, another style-based piece. This is not a brand you need to know, but it is a Y2K label. This is a beaded Y2K maxi dress. This could be worn casually or more formal, but it has that empire waist. It's got some beaded details. It's got some sheer details, great silhouette, lots of things that people are looking for. This ended up selling for $65, which was close to our full asking price. And we included keywords like fairy grunge, whimsy goth, event, occasion, party, and glam. Next up, this is a brand you want to look for in shoes, especially men's boots. It's Ariat. These ones had quite a bit of wear, but I find with cowboy boots, it doesn't really matter. These were called the Urban Rambler leather boots. They were a pair of pull-on, kind of distressed looking boots in a men's size 9.5. It did have, like I said, a little bit of wear, but in relatively good condition for an Ariat men's boot. And they ended up selling for $70, which is great. And that's one of the reasons that I love picking up shoes, typically higher ASP. They're super easy to figure out the style name for because you just Google Lens them. But they do take a lot to store and to ship. So something to keep in mind. I know tons of resellers who niche down only to shoes, and I totally get why because they sell so well. All right, here's another one that we spruced up. This is a vintage men's thick cable knit cardigan. This was our original cover photo. Definitely more like blurry colors, definitely not giving its true color, just hanging a little weird on the hanger. Despite that, it's still something I would pick up today. And so when it didn't sell within 90 days, I put it on a modeled AI image, and that is what sold it for quite a bit of money. $54 for a style-based piece is awesome. I use keywords like vintage, thick, Ivy League, cable, academia, and tennis. This was also a recent bins find. My sourcer actually found this for us. She was so excited. It is a Gunny Sacks dress. And this is a prairie dress. Now it's more like midi length. The full maxi ones you're going to get more for, but still a great piece nonetheless. So this is a Gunny Sacks prairie dress. This one leaned more like boho cottagecore, but it was in pretty decent condition. We did some comps on this and I ended up listing it for around $125 or best offer. I very quickly got an offer for $95, which I accepted to move the item. Next up, this one's super bread and butter, but I just like following up on all of the like stuff that we're using for bread and butter. I'm still going strong on the Y2K lace trim cami tops. I don't even know this brand, but I, again, recycled the same keywords for the same types of pieces, and it's still selling very well for us. This one, stuff like this, I normally plan to get between 20 and 25 for, and we pick them up from the bins all the time. This one ended up selling on an offer for $20. All right, now we are to a few Depop sales. I had a little over 10 Depop sales, but I've only pulled 5 for you today. Some of the better ones that sold. Really interesting pieces. This one is an unbranded handmade patchwork cardigan. Anytime I see anything patchwork, anytime it's handmade and it's multicolored, I'm definitely looking into that. So I picked this one up. It had too many factors that were so good to just leave behind, even though it was unbranded. I listed this one high, wasn't really sure what to price it for because again, it was unbranded. This one had quite a bit of interest and sold within 22 days for, let's see here. Oop, I lost my place. There it is. This sold, I listed it for $55 and someone sent me an offer for $44, which I accepted. And then all of these are plus shipping. So shipping is covered by the buyer. Next up, this is a men's canvas jacket. We all know that Carhartt canvas jackets are selling well, but so do other brands, so keep your eyes out for them. This was a men's Walls blizzard-proof canvas jacket. It definitely had some wear, but I find with these canvas jackets that doesn't matter. So I priced this one high. I listed at $60. This one sold on an offer for $51, again, plus shipping. I use keywords like work, barn, chore, ranch, outdoors, all of the keywords. These ones were a test item. I couldn't find a whole lot of information about this brand, but I knew it was a good Y2K shoe. It is Averex, which I believe is like a skater alternative brand. And I remember this brand from the Y2K era, but not a lot of good comps to go off of. So I kind of had to make up a price. These are a pair of really worn in slip-on Averex skater shoes. They had graphic, good colorway on this, but they were definitely worn. I listed these ones for around $65 and I did not sell them like within a week. And on Depop, I have some settings and Nifty, I have some settings to drop prices on items when they hit a certain age. And these ones got dropped in price because of that. This one was listed for around $54 and I accepted an offer of $40. On Depop, the time in which a listing becomes stale is a lot sooner than eBay. So that all the platforms have different time frames of when something becomes stale, when you should refresh it, etc. And so that's why I really love having a tool like Nifty where it's customizable per each platform and does everything in the background. Super nice. So these ended up selling just after 18 days of being listed. So all of that automatic stuff happened within just a couple of weeks. It's not like these items sat and sat and sat. So because I had all of that set up, it ended up selling on an offer for $40. And yeah, I was really happy with that considering, again, it was more of a test item. So if I come across stuff like this again and I've got that really good gut feeling, I'm definitely going to go for it. All right, this was a pretty surprising sale. This sold within just 13 days of being listed, and it's a higher price item. A lot of people think you can't sell higher priced items on Depop, and that's simply not true. It just depends on what the item is. This is actually a higher end brand called Savalia Couture. I listed this for $125 and expected offers on it. This one is a bandage style dress, which is a pretty popular dress style right now. It kind of falls into like the Y2K category, but this brand itself is also a higher end brand. So I was really surprised at how quickly this sold. And this one sold on an offer for $100, which I happily accepted. All right, and lastly on Depop, this was also an unexpected, lots of interest item. It sold within about 23 days, and it was Andre by Unit. This is not a brand that I typically seek after. I like finding them in plus size pieces, but smaller than that, not so much. But this one was just very style based on trend. It was a longer length coat. I talked about that earlier. Very fall vibes, plaid. It could go into so many different categories. I use keywords like fall, academia, and plaid overcoat. And I listed this for around $50, I think, and accepted an offer for 40. Nope, sorry. I listed for 40 and it sold for 40, full asking price. And like I said, this one sold in about 20 days. So quick flips on Depop, and I'm very happy with my sales and how they're moving up over there. And just honestly, the visibility on Depop is insane. And I feel like once you get the ball rolling on there, like the train just does not stop. You can check back on the video if you rewind a little bit and check the boosting stats here. You'll see how many times the item showed up in search, how many clicks it got, and then how many likes. It's incredible compared to impressions and things on eBay. It's just a quickly growing platform, and it's definitely one I'm excited to try and figure out a little bit more of. All right, guys, so that's it for what sold this week. I hope that you all enjoyed watching. Sorry for all the format changes, but I think I am going to stick with this one because so many of you have asked for Depop to be included with this, and so that's probably what I'll do. We'll do eBay, we'll do Poshmark, we'll do Depop, and we'll combine all of those into sales as buy it now platforms probably should be combined into one as we analyze that each week. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great holiday, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.